When the CX-50 came out in 2023, we reviewed it back then with its 2.5-liter turbo gas motor, and you can watch that review up here as well as down in the description. There's a link to that video if you want to see the whole video on that. In this video, we're just focusing on the hybrid version of the CX-50 and some of the changes and variants that we found with this model. So stay tuned as we go through how well this hybrid version of the CX-50 drives, how the hybrid system works, and even how it handles. So let's take a look underneath and see what we... It's not a Skyactiv Mazda motor. I'm George Torline, and this is Victory in Reseda.
The 2025 CX-50 Hybrid is a result of a joint venture between Mazda and Toyota. They share the same assembly plant in Huntsville, Alabama, where all CX-50 models are built. For one, the design is familiar to us. There's a lot of continuity in the exterior with non-hybrid CX-50 models. You will notice the hybrid badges on the front fenders and the rear tailgate. Our Premium Plus hybrid tester wears 19-inch tires and wheels. Inside, it is also the same as in other CX-50 models. Hybrid models get a power charge meter on the left dial instead of a tachometer. The center dial area is digital, while the rest of the instrument cluster is analog. The only other noticeable difference is an EV button on the center console. On top of the center stack is the 10.25-inch Mazda Connect infotainment screen, controlled by a knob and other controls on the center console. There's plenty of room for up to 5 inside the cab on these red leather seats. This is an exclusive on the Premium Plus hybrid model. Cargo space starts with 29.2 cubic feet behind the rear seats. Fold them down and you have up to 56.3 cubic feet available for loading up. Powering the CX-50 Hybrid is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine coupled to an electric motor, a continuously variable transmission, and standard all-wheel drive. This Toyota-sourced driveline is rated for 219 total system horsepower. There is a lot to talk about the 2025 CX-50 Hybrid. Let's join George as he takes it on the road.
So driving the 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Now, because of the hybrid drivetrain, this does drive differently than the CX-50 regular version. Now, as mentioned, the powertrain isn't the Mazda Skyactiv engine that you're accustomed to. This is actually the engine from the Toyota RAV4 and its hybrid electric motor and battery and drivetrain, including the CVT transmission and the electric motor driving the rear wheels. So that gives it a very different kind of a feel. You have more of that CVT rubber bandness to it. Now, Mazda has done an excellent job of vehicles that handle sharp, including the CX-50, and a responsive kind of a driving experience with the throttle and the transmission. However, with this powertrain, you do have more of an indirect feel. You got that CVT rubber bandy in there a little bit. Driving around town, it's fine. Give it the beans a little bit and it's gonna be a little squishy, which is an experience that Mazda owners of their regular vehicles that are internal combustion, that with the regular transmission, that don't normally experience. So if you're expecting the Mazda zoom zoom with this, it's not there, I'm afraid to say. But for what it is, it gets you around town, just slogging around, doing regular commuting duties. It does just fine with that. Now, the CX-50 Hybrid shares the same engine and powertrain out of the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. So it has the exact same horsepower specs. It has the eCVT transmission as well as the electric motor in the rear driving the rear wheels. However, this is kind of a heavier application compared to the RAV4. So Its responsiveness may feel a little bit more muted compared to the RAV4. However, it's still not that far off from a performance and acceleration standpoint. A little slower, but not by much. Now, from a ride quality standpoint, we've mentioned that the CX-50 can ride a bit harsh compared to other vehicles in its class, especially with the 20-inch wheels. With the hybrid, they've outfitted it with 19-inch wheels, which does help the ride a bit, as well as the extra weight of the hybrid system. You got that battery in there, as well as the rear electric motors, adding some extra weight there. And it kind of helps to settle the CX-50 a bit more. So it's a bit more of a pleasant driving experience compared to the non-hybrid CX-50. Now, if you were to compare the power specs between the hybrid, you got the 219 horsepower and 163 pound-feet of torque. But let's compare that to the gas version, just the regular gas version. That's 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. So you do get a little bit more horsepower but less torque, which is interesting because of the electric motor involved. So if you want more performance, perhaps you're going to want the CX-50 with the gas turbo motor, because that guy's going to put out much more power. So that's putting out 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque on 93 octane gas, which you don't have to run that level of octane, by the way. You can always run lower octane, but still get good performance. Now, as mentioned, the throttle feels a little rubber bandy because of the ECVT. So other than that, it doesn't feel too bad. The steering response is very good. It points where it goes. That's all still Mazda involved. So you have that. The braking, because of the regenerative braking, it can feel a little different. You do feel it kicking in when it does regen, but it isn't too bad. Just know that you're going to feel a little bit of a sensation as regen goes in and out. The level of regen is not selectable, so it's kind of always the same level in the background. Let's give a little flog. You do have a power mode as well as a trail mode. Now, that trail mode is going to give you a little more agility in off-road conditions, but the normal mode, which is what they consider the eco mode all the time, it does a good job of balancing between the gas motor and electric. Off the line, it's using the electric motors to get you up and going, in which time the gas motor will kick in and assist. And then as you decelerate and come down to a stop, the motor will stop and the electric motors will take over from there. This does have an EV mode that allows it to run in pure electric mode. Selected EV mode. We'll depart at a normal level. It's like, oh, EV mode canceled due to acceleration level. So I'm simply asking it a normal, gradual level of acceleration, but that was too much and the motor kicked in. So I'm not really sure how useful the EV mode is in this application. So consider that when you're looking at that feature. The 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid is EPA rated at 38 miles to the gallon. However, in our mixed driving, we're seeing about 31.5. Is that very much different than the internal combustion engine? A little bit, and it really depends on the kind of driving that you plan on doing. If you're doing lower speed stop and go driving, the hybrid system will certainly help with that and make that experience much more efficient. If you're doing a lot of highway driving, perhaps not as much. So in summary, the 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Toyota's hybrid system certainly gives the CX-50 additional capabilities when it comes to fuel economy. And Toyota's hybrid system has been a very reliable, proven system over the years. However, if you're a Mazda enthusiast and you're looking for that direct driving Mazda experience, just know that it's not going to be that completely with the throttle and brakes, but the steering and the suspension still certainly feel Mazda. Another pro for the hybrid is that Compared to the regular CX-50, it does ride a tad smoother, which we certainly appreciate on the 19-inch wheels. Additional fuel efficiency with the hybrid, in our experience, yeah, it's helped some, but it isn't dramatic as much as perhaps as within the RAV4 that is a lighter vehicle. But with those choices in mind, is it a bad choice? I don't think so. If you don't mind the driving experience of a hybrid that has a CVT, and I think it's mostly that CVT, it's nice to have that electric push off the line, but that rubber bandiness of the CVT, if you're going to lean into the throttle, it's just going to be a little rubber bandy. So just keep that in mind. In our thermal imaging tests of the 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid, we find the heated front seats offer good heating element coverage in most areas from the mid-seat backs down across the seat bottoms. Heated rear seats and a heated steering wheel are not offered on the hybrid models in the US, however they are available on the gas turbo trims. A unique feature on the CX-50 when setting the interior heat controls to direct air to the floor is that it also directs air towards your knees and lap areas from vents under the steering column. Outside, the side mirrors are heated and the rear window defrost heating elements provide good heating element coverage. On the windshield, the park position of the wipers are heated to keep the wipers from freezing to the glass while the front window defrosters are utilized.
Pricing for the entire lineup starts at $30,300. There are 10 CX-50 trim levels available for 2025, 3 of which are hybrids, with hybrid models starting at $33,970. Our Hybrid Premium Plus tester came with a sticker price of $42,065.
We hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you liked what you saw, consider giving it a thumbs up and select the subscribe button to watch all of our new content, as well as selecting the notification bell to be notified when new videos are posted. I'm George Torline. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.